Oh, I'm curious about something. You've said before in one of your videos that you've had a soft spot for Latinas. I don't know if your girls over there listening to me, but I was just curious why is that, or at least
Culture, just
before.
it's really close to Eastern Europe. It felt basically like being in my country without being in my country. The cooking culture, making everything from scratch at home most of the time, hanging out with family, extended family, especially big group. Holidays, everything like that, celebrating with the family, but not just like the nuclear side, but like the uncles and the aunts and everybody is like
Oh,
inviting the loved ones that they meet. And it's always kind of a big thing. It's very close to, Balkan culture as well. So that's what I
really?
really enjoyed about it. I didn't like dating American women and just how detached Americans are from family life in general. And they have really weird relationships with their parents, if any at all. Like, I remember my American friends would tell me shit like, haven't talked to my parents in like a couple months, or I'm not really close to my mom and dad, or like, weird shit like that I couldn't even fucking fathom that shit. Even when I left for college, I was talking to them at the longest period of not hearing from them was 1 week. And that was already long enough. We were always checking in with each other and shit. And to hear Americans, like all my American friends at college, like, yeah, I haven't spoke to my parents in like a year. I'm like, fuck, man, you people are broken.
Fuck.
But you see it in the way they
Yeah.
treat each other relationship wise. I mean, the mentality in
Hmm.
America is, it used to be you're 18 years old, get the fuck out and go make a life for yourself. But, that's not financially feasible anymore. But in general, there was a complete disconnect between American culture and Balkan culture. So I said, no thanks. And Americans came off as a bit dumb because they only spoke one language. To be honest, they weren't really culturally aware of the rest of the world outside of America. So Latinos are, you don't even have to say well traveled, but the fact that a lot of them have lived in other countries or have family that lives in other countries just gives you like an extra layer of perspective on the rest of the world, and typically a lot more humble. And yeah, it's just different, man. It just felt closer to what I saw in my own family. That was it, really. And yeah, dude, to see an extended family like that, the way it functions, how close you are, what it does for socialization, like you understand why Americans are so
Beautiful.
antisocial. Yeah, in general, and they
Yeah.
live kind of sad lives when it comes to retirement. Like we have all the material possessions in the world here as Americans in the West, but we lack connection the most. We have the most things, but we have the least connection with other people. We're the most disconnected probably nation on earth because everywhere else I've been, even Scandinavians being as weird as they are, they're still even more social than you would get an American if you, let's say consider the in-group preferences. Like Scandinavians feel cold to people outside of Scandinavia, but within their own culture, it's not that much of an issue. But Americans are more disconnected now along a million different lines besides race, like, political lines, what you identify, what,
Exactly.
what gender ideology you're following, all this stuff puts you in a little box where it seems like everybody else is against you. Now, speaking to a guy on a private call earlier, and we were just talking about how society here in America is so fragmented and it's causing everybody to be adversarial to the point where, you can't even look out the window of your house without looking at your neighbor like, what the fuck is he doing? Like, where is he walking? You're looking at him like potential, a threat or something, instead of having this feeling of like, oh, there goes my neighbor, and, just like a sense of ease because we've divided ourselves into so many things. This all is allowed to happen because it goes back to the family structure. Like, we don't understand what
Hmm.
it is to be missing the extended family. The advent of the nuclear family being standard in America was probably the beginning of the end for everything. Because once we reduced down multi-generational family households to just parents and then forced the parents to work, leaving the kid essentially up to the state to indoctrinate and teach at school all day and to the, whims of their peers, we've lost that grounded reality, the humbleness, the having like morals, character, all that stuff that used to be instilled. Families used to teach their kids a lot of things. Like families are where you
Hmm.
got your moral character from and what was right and what was wrong and boundaries and what it meant, consequences, all this stuff. Like that came handed down to you from not just your father, but that came handed from great grandfathers, from your grandpa.
Hmm.
I had, when I grew up in Romania before moving, I had great grandparents still alive and I was hanging out with them. Yeah, and people don't understand just what that does to your social skills, what that does to the sense of security that you have, understanding when you're in a big family like that. Just, if you really needed help with something, somebody could help you out with something in the family. There's always doors and opportunities. Imagine growing up where all you know is your parents, and about 18, 19, you're shipped off to college. You're racking up a ton of debt. You're making friends that may not be the best for you. and then you're expected to get a job right out of college. The only support structure you really have, because your parents can't afford it, is the job you get, which then you're enslaved to because now you can't afford a house. So you're crumbling under debt, under stress, and under pressure. Finding someone and starting a life with them is also impossible because you're both saddled by those things. And then you're expected to start a family all on your own with no help. Like, do you know how much help, again, in Latin culture, when someone gets married or something like that, how much help do they receive? Gifts and money. Everybody
that's tradition.
That's tradition, yeah.
That's the tradition. You have to give to the women. That I didn't know until recently, actually. But yeah, that's something that you do. That like a little donation, that whatever you can give. Yeah, that's tradition.
Yep. So you're starting off a marriage with a bunch of money or things or help. If you got an uncle that's good with carpenting, or an uncle that's good with roofing, or an uncle that's good with whatever, somebody offers you something that will help you. So you're already giving them the best chance possible to start off a wedding, a family, right? As opposed to, how the fuck are we paying for a $50,000 wedding? We got to go into debt, and we got to, like the way Americans are doing it is the complete opposite way of the way it used to be done. And there's no surprise this society's like moral fabric is in the dumpster. It's sad, man. It's sad, because there's millions of good people here in this country, and they're just lost because society's set up for them to be lost.
And the tradition is, I don't know if it is the same in your culture, but it's usually it would be the bride's father would be the one that traditionally pays for the wedding. That's what I'm told here. I don't know if that's it goes, but usually, obviously, because of the way these people want to pitch in somehow, at least with the drinks or the music, the DJ or the artist, whatever, at least some way they can contribute to the wedding. And it's a special moment for that reason. I didn't even understand it. And of course, you still have all the biological issues with the cheating and all that crap. That happens worldwide, but
you're giving a much better position, to succeed overall.
Yeah. No, and you also have to be aware from the frame that you come in. All of that's universal, and it is something that you have to always keep in mind. But with and look, here in the DR, it's getting very Americanized, which is very bad, and you're seeing it. It's still not as strong an influence, fortunately, but it's getting there. Like, for example, here in all those issues about the rent.
It's a hotspot for passport bros too, isn't it?
Yeah, people love coming here, and they love coming to Punta Cana, for example, or hell, even Santo Domingo. And I can understand why. When you leave the city, because I see it from somebody that lives here, so I don't have the same perspective from a passport bro. But when I live the city, for example, just close by, you can go to rivers, mountains, beaches, good looking beaches at that. Like, you don't even have to go for example, from Virginia to Myrtle Beach, to give you a perspective.
Yeah.
Or even from Florida.
There's a video coming out tonight of American moved his entire family over there. He lives in the Dominican Republic now.
Oh, I believe I know who you're talking about, but sure, I'll see it.
Yeah.
Because I'm curious about that one.
Yeah.
The
whole the moving, and he speaks about the family values thing, and he touches on safety, about being shot or stabbed, crime rates in America, but the LGBT stuff that's pushed in your face on TV and all that in America, it's insane. Over here, you don't really see it.
No.
Indoctrination in schools, just a lot of stuff, man, that you notice when you leave the United States. And we're not even going to need to mention, quality of life obviously goes up because you're able to afford far more while paying less. He was saving half, but living in like luxury, of course. So he's living better in America on half the pay, or I should say half the cost, excuse me. And he's raising his family there, and he couldn't be happier for leaving because he doesn't have to walk out his door and just worry like something might happen, because people are losing their fucking minds in the United States. It's kind of, it's just, I lived, look, let me give you guys an example. I lived in Phoenix, Arizona. I had a house that I was paying, I think like $2,600 for a month, a private gated community nestled in the hills in Phoenix by a golf course and some other shit. Anyways, it has a public park on top of a private little park just for the gated community. But if you went to the public park that was literally next to my house, taking my dogs there were needles, empty fucking needles from drug addict just laying out in the grass that my dogs almost stepped in. And I'm like, wow, I live in the United States of America. I finally made it into a gated community. This is the pinnacle of the success I dreamed of having as a kid. I am firmly in upper middle class America. and my dog almost stepped in a fucking hypodermic needle that some junkie was just using at the park next door to me. And it like clicked for me. There's no escaping this shit unless I am even on another level up above, where at the tip top of the mountains are the mega multi-millionaire, neighborhoods with the mansions that are $5 to $10 to $20 million. So I lived nestled in the hills in the private area, but even then there's a road that takes you up where all the multi-millionaires live. And I'm like, they're the only ones that are really away from the stench of the deterioration of America because they live behind, their road is gated off. You could drive down my road, but to get into the neighborhood, there were gates. Their entire road was gated. And then you drove up to their, individual houses. And I was just blown away that no matter how hard I worked, it felt like I'll never escape. Like if I were to start a family here, that no matter what I do, my kids will always be mixed in with this trash, that I always have to be careful, watch my back, look out for everybody. I'm paying already $2,500, which is an absolutely incredible number for the average American to be paying. And this was a few years ago before prices even got crazy. That house is probably $3,500 a month now, easy. And it just, what feeling does that give you, man? In terms of future, in terms of like family planning, it doesn't make you feel
no,
good.
you feel hopeless.
Yeah, which is why I contrast it with coming to Eastern Europe, and the feeling is completely switched the other direction because people here, although they earn less, the ratio of cost of living to their earning makes it so that they're living well beyond what they need. You can earn here like 2,000 euros a month. My uncle and other people I know here make that quite easily. 2,000 euros a month. Apartments here go for 500 euros a month. And with food and all that, you don't have to spend more than 1,000. So these people could be saving 1,000 euros or more a month. And the women and the men work. So you're saving a couple thousand euros a month potentially. And you can have a family. And you can afford to go on vacations, and you can afford to do all the things. Of course, it's not every single person, but here in the capital, at least, I know probably in the countryside, it's hard, and a few of the smaller regional cities and towns and whatever the fuck, it gets hard. Just like in America, you live in the boondocks, you're not going to be earning much, and you're kind of at the poverty
It happens
line.
everywhere.
It happens everywhere. But the fact is, in a major capital here in Eastern Europe, these people are living better than most Americans. Because if you live somewhere in LA where those high-paying jobs are, your high-paying job, that difference disappears. You're still poor, making $250,000 in San Francisco. You're broke. Sorry. But you could be in Silicon Valley, and that's not enough. People don't understand this shit. Like even when I do those videos in Bucharest and I'm like, hey guys, this is like how cheap it is. I'll read the comments and they're like, yeah, but what does an average Romanian make? I'm like, yeah, if you knew the income to cost of living ratio, your head would fucking explode. Even with their low salaries, they're still doing fine. But people want to compare like the absolute dirt poor minimum wage. It's like, bro, if you get minimum wage in America, you're starving to death anyway. Like who the fuck's living on minimum wage in America? That shit's a joke. For example, when we left in 91 or 92, I can't remember exactly when,
well, you're an example.
Yeah, but all the Romanians that we came on that same airplane with, some of them we made lifelong friends with, they ended up staying in the same areas we did. All are gone. There's not one left. We are one of the last to leave, actually. Others saw it earlier. They make their money, and then they see that retirement is not feasible in America. It's too expensive, and then healthcare will just absolutely kill you. So they go, why not go back?
Damn.
Yeah. So for the older guys that are about to go on their pension or 401ks or already retired, like you know what I'm talking about. And property prices, like property taxes, excuse me. Those that own property taxes and have seen the value of all their assets just skyrocket are kind of regretting it because property taxes have increased so much. And I've spoken to older people where this has happened to before even leaving. That older Americans that are retired are forced to sell their properties because they can't afford to live there anymore. Imagine this, dude. You work your entire life, you pay off your house, and the value balloons so much that the pension you're now receiving, your retirement, whatever, is being absolutely destroyed by the property tax. And so you're forced to sell, and the government won't help them. There's like programs that'll, help these retired people, but it's not enough. Like when you factor in food and healthcare and all this other shit, transportation and everything else, you can't make ends meet. Your pension doesn't go up, dude. You get what you get, and that's it. You have to make do. And that's so fucked up. That left a real sour taste in my mouth when I was working in construction and, I was doing some of the lower end jobs where, old granny would call us or an old man that couldn't really move and not as spry as he was anymore and need to get up to the roof and fix a chimney and something like that. And they would always tell me stories about their lives. And I remember one guy in particular, this couple, and they were about to sell their house. That's why they were fixing it. And they couldn't afford to live in the area anymore because the price at which they paid versus what it currently cost completely destroyed what they were getting in retirement. They got priced out of their own dream house they worked their entire lives for. That's
Well, this
fucked,
is
bro. Yeah, it leaves
so. Yeah, this
it leaves
is
a nasty taste in your mouth when you hear like land of the free,
That
but you don't own anything. Like, I paid off my house, but you mean you're gonna still take my shit? That's when I like the illusion for me of America was starting to really wear thin. And that's just one of many examples I was seeing. Other people that had invested in new homes, I saw how builders completely built up an entire subdivision. It was like fucking paper mache and matchsticks. I cannot believe the horrible quality of this entire fucking neighborhood. And the builder went under, so you couldn't sue them or anything. And these people had paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they only discovered these problems when fucking birds were pecking holes in the side of their houses. I mean, it's literally just paper thin. You could punch through the guy's fucking house and go into his living room. That's how insane it was. There's nothing there. There's no all it was a skeleton of 2x4s. There was no insulation. There was no cue board. There was nothing in between besides a very thin layer of like mesh with paint over it. And I'm like, how the fuck did they construct an entire neighborhood like this? Dude, and they had no recourse. There was no suing anybody. There's no doing anything. The banks didn't give a shit. They were already these people were already complaining to whatever local, county officials. And they just basically held their hands up, say, you're fucked. That's your problem. You should have done an inspection. Like, what inspection, bro? The house was new when I bought it. Like, it's not supposed to have problems. It's supposed to be up to spec, but there's nothing you can do. Man, there's so many things that I saw just on the infrastructure side like that in America that I was like, wow, dude, this country is like it's an illusion. Greatest country on earth, but it does its citizens
It's
really
like you're going to
dirty.
go in and charge fucking property taxes, but then you can't even have proper inspectors go out and check the building process.
Yeah, it's insane.
it's
And this is contrasting with a place like Dubai. When I went, I was shocked because I was thinking about properties out there. Still am, by the way. But in Dubai, there's zero property tax. Actually, you can get houses there in Dubai with zero interest rate where you pay the builder directly. They have weird terms there, like consider like 70-30. That means you pay 70% of the house in installments and 30% at, say, handover or whatever, if the house is under construction still. Or if the house is $250,000, you'll sign a contract with the builder for $2,500 a month over 10 years. So you pay them directly, zero interest, and you get the keys. Imagine that.